We're getting ready to start with this particular knit along, and I thought I'd explain a small little bit about biased knitting. Now, you may have heard that term before and not really known what it meant, but the swatch you see here is a biased swatch. And all that actually means is, as you're knitting it at the start of each row, you've got a decrease, and at the end of each row you have an increase. So that it means that you've continuously got the same number of stitches, but the edges of your work are at an angle to where you're going. So if I turn it this way, this is our cast on, and you can see along here these were all decreased, and along here they were increased. So normally if you're measuring gauge, and in this particular situation you can still measure the gauge across here, so your stitches are running along this way and your rows are running along this way. But in the actual garment as it's being worn, biased parts are the ones that are going to be vertical. So this will be your side seam, this will be your central seam. So your gauge is running along here, but your actual length is across that, so to speak. Now, you can see the triangles up along here, and what you can probably have a feel for how that you can actually calculate what the width and what the length is going to be, because it's going to go right back to your maths and Pythagoras' theorem, where you're looking at the width here and the length here, and what you've got is this length here. So you can calculate then the other two from that. Now, in the pattern, I'm going to give you information in how to go about sizing it, so that if you actually have your stitch gauge and your row gauge, how you can estimate how wide it's going to be. But because even small adjustments in one or the other is going to change things for you, it's also the kind of situation where I would also strongly suggest continuing to measure as you're working. You know, make sure you've reached the width you've got, make sure you've reached the length you want, and that way you're not going to be caught out because of the fact that it's worked on the bias.